people, they spoke the collapse long ago. And for instance, Theodore Roosevelt, at the beginning of the 19th century, said extremely powerful words about it. He said, we can be proud of our successes, but what will we do when we will have polluted everything, exhausted the forest, the rivers, and the environment? More close to us, the mother said, I am telling the financial world that they are in the process of withering and ruining the earth with their idiotic system, and with even less than they are now spending for useless things, merely for inflating something that has no inherent life, that should be only an instrument. They could transform the earth so quickly, transform it, put it into contact truly with the supplemental forces that would make life bountiful and indeed instantly renewed, instead of becoming withered, stagnant, shriveled up like a dead moon. Guys, Denny Meadows, Donella Meadows and the others, they made a study of the world helped by a model on computer which is called World 3, and they put the main features of the world into a computer and they tried to see what would happen. Everything was fine, a lot of resources, population was there, all the services were increasing, and then suddenly crash. They were hoping that if we could do something new, really different from what they were doing in 72, we could save the world from the crash. And they failed.
So the crash we're talking here about is this. 2030, the population declines. That's what we call the crash in this model. So after food doesn't become available enough, world population declines to a real bad, low level.
Food and pollution and many factors, in fact. So the only way they managed to save the world, if I can say their computer, is to decide voluntarily to limit ourselves, just to do what we have.
So they did projection in 70s, and someone in 2015 looked at the projection and put the real data. So the thick lines are the real data, and they are almost the same as the projection. So in 72, they believed that the Earth could do it. There was a sustainable path to stop growing as a world population and to stop growing the economic and the emissions. The graphic is called the Great Acceleration because it's mostly exponential curves. It constantly accelerates. It constantly goes faster than the previous rate. We went on to an exponential use of the planet. We didn't go for plateau at all. The only response from this exponential growth in the model that he presented was a crash. Every combination of exponential resulted into a crash of the population.
Western world has a particular drive for growth, which can be explained in many ways, but this drive, inner drive for growth, has been shared with the full world. If you don't have, I have a power on you. Because you will need something I have. I can lend it to you, that I will make you pay interest. When you borrow money in the bank, you will have to pay interest. But it shows that they have power on you. How do we pay this interest? By creating more. Because if you get 100, you have to pay 110, you have to pay at least 10. And so growth is embedded into our monetary system and into the fact that people own things, and that ownership means having the power. Today, they represent some less than 2% of the money supply globally, which means that 98% of the money we are talking about is just wind. Since we settled down to become farmers 10,000 years ago, almost nothing happened for a long time. Jesus Christ, 250 million now. And then look, 1900, he starts digging and finding petrol. Boom, that's an explosion. Also, each and every one is taking more from the planet. The curve I just showed you, the population is multiplied by the use we make of the planet. So right now, on the planet, each and every one, you, me, in average, uses every day the equivalent of a force of 200 people. Energy slaves, as we say, are not seen. They are just taken from the socket. And this increase has been fueled by mainly fossil fuels. There is a warning from the International Energy Agency that there will be a shortage from 2020 onward. The production will not manage to follow the demand.
So we were discovering more than we consume, and now we consume way more than we discover, basically 4 times more per day. Based on the consumption mostly of fossil fuels since 1700, so this is CO2 in the atmosphere, the concentration of CO2, which started somewhere around 280 ppm, part per million, and more or less stayed stable until we started burning fossil fuel. 1800, we started consuming this coal and oil, and the CO2 started raising. We have now reached this year 405 ppm as a stable measure. If we go to 700, basically there's no way that humans can survive. Not because of breathing, because of the heat. This is the world average temperature, seas and land, raising slowly. This looks very slow because it's over a century, but we have reached the 1 degree. The last 4 years are the 4 hottest years since we measure temperature on Earth. So this is a slide just to talk about 2018. We had +2 degrees at North Pole, which never happened before, which is 30 degrees above normal. They also experienced 30 degrees above 30 degrees in the Arctic, where it's normally never happening. So it was really widespread, and it's actually helped quite a lot of people realizing that it's already kind of running out of control. What would happen, theoretically, if we humans manage to take control of our CO2 emissions in this century, between 2000 and 2100? If we do that, the CO2 will stabilize in about 100 to 300 years. Temperature will stabilize, but it will take a few more centuries to reach a plateau, not to go down, and we're just talking about stopping raising. The sea level rise from thermal expansion, just the water getting dilated, will go on for centuries to millennia. The polar ice cap, mostly Greenland and Antarctica, will go on melting for millennia. There's no view of when it could actually reach a plateau. It's probable that they melt all, and this is tens of meters of sea level rise, which is gone. We can't do much about it, because this is all happening if we do what we should do, not if we don't manage. If we manage, all this will happen. So this is the kind of minimal scenario. So we already changed the climate for a good 1,000 years. So mass extinction means a big part of every living thing is dying, and there's a new evolution basically starting. We are creating the 6th one, and it's this fastest one.
So there is not a collection of problems. There is in fact problems, interconnected problems, with feedback loops, and we would like to focus now on some systemic effect which can add to the whole thing. Fossil fuels can be characterized by one parameter which is called the ROI, energy return on energy invested. How many barrels can I extract for 1 barrel invested in extraction? And now the oil shale and other non-combustible petrol are around 2.5. And some people say that in fact we are already below 1. They say we don't take into account the externalities. If these guys had to pay for the pollution, for the devastation of forests and everything, it's a long time that the ROI will be below 1. And below 1, what does it mean? That when you do it, you lose. You put 1, you get less than 1. So you lose.
Not only there are more than 1, 2, or 3, there are at least 6, 7 main kinds of mega crises, but they are all connected. So we are in systems. So a way that the system has to lock itself into a past. So an example, banks or industries which are too big to fail. Meaning if you let them bankrupt, you crash the country. So the state has to step in. Actually, they're also too big to jail. So they're practically above the law and guaranteed by state. Thermal engine, the engine we have in our motorbike and cars, and hydrocarbons. They are linked together so much that grows that they block the development of other types of engines, for example, electric engines. We basically have the basic for electric engines since I was born. Our system looks very much like the world system. and natural system looks very much like this. Now it's getting much more homogeneous and much more fragile. What happened during the Anthropocene, the last 200 years, is that this thing got flatter, so there's an attraction toward the hotter Earth, and now we are creating this kind of a big red hole, which means very, very stable state if we get into it. So we have a small island of stability, of relative stability, if we do what they call Earth system stewardship. So it's basically the whole human population consciously driving the Earth toward a stable climatic state. If we don't, we go into biosphere degradation, we pass some planetary threshold and we fall into what they call hothouse Earth, something like 30-degree average, so 15 more than now, which means most of the plant animals that we know and us unable to live on Earth. A lot of life would still survive and probably develop into something else, but we will be gone, and all what we know of the world probably will.
There is no solution to that. There is just to behave differently, which means changing the inner drive.
It says today utopia has changed side. Is a utopian who believes that everything can continue as before. The collapse is the horizon of our generation, it is the beginning of our future. What will happen next? All this remains to be thought of, imagined and lived. The choice of our generation is Cornelian. Either we wait to bear the full violence of the cataclysms to come, or, to avoid some of it, we take a turn so tight that it would trigger our own end of the industrial world. Collapse is a process that results in basic needs like water, food, clothes, energy, transport, security, which are no longer provided to a majority of the population through services regulated by law.
My intuition is that there will be attention on all the equipment which could provide kind of autonomy in terms of energy, solar panels, batteries, water. I imagine that I have 2 years, not more, to equip myself with this kind of things, make a choice about them. Then it will be difficult.
I can imagine that for a year and a half, 2 years, same duration more or less, I can't imagine how things would deteriorate so much that plane ticket and international travel would change drastically. Like people who can do it now would not be able to do it anymore, things like this. But over 2 years seems too far for me. One thing which was theorized by Joanna Macy, eco-psychologist, coined this expression, rough weather networks, highly autonomous and interconnected communities of great diversity, light and symbiotic interconnection. So we should work together, but we should not depend on each other too much. Otherwise, when one crashes, the other crashes. But we need a network of community. This is what the Global Eco-Village Network is trying to do, linking Auroville with Spindle with other communities in the world. Auroville is similar to a county or small town. It's an optimal scale to organize a transition. We can do a lot of experiment, we can try a lot of things in regards to a new development. Right now, what can we do? Back to fundamental needs, food, shelter, security, blah, blah, blah. Reconnection to the other human being, to the other than humans, to nature, to the place where we live, to become earthlings again.
To create a new world, we have to change the foundation. The shift from scarcity to abundance is one of the most fundamental ones which can be done. This shift, I made it by relating to nature. Come back to the place on Earth where we are not the dominant animal. We are just part of the food creation. We are part of the one thing. And in that new position, we can experiment abundance.
The rising hill, the slopes of statistics lie before us. The steep climb of everything going up, up, as we all go down. In the next century, or the one beyond that, they say, our valleys, pastures, we can meet there in peace, if we make it. To climb this coming crest, one word, to you and your children. Stay together, learn the flowers, do light.